Man at Super Bowl. A man finds his seat at the Super Bowl, but notices that there's an empty seat between himself and the next guy. Who in their right mind would miss the Super Bowl? The man next to him smiles and says, "Well, actually this was my wife's seat. She passed away recently, and we had already purchased the tickets." The first guy responds, "Oh, I'm sorry for your loss," but then thinks for a second and adds, "Don't you think it would have been nice to take one of her family members to the game?" The man looks ahead and replies, "I would, but they are all at her funeral right now." Asking daughters to come home for Christmas, clever trick. A few days before Christmas, a mom calls her daughter, "Hey, I know this might come as a shock, but I'm pregnant." "How could this happen?" the daughter responds, shocked. "You're 46. Oh my God, this is horrible." "It was an accident," the mom says. "Please just call your sister and tell her." "Have to go." The daughter frantically calls her sister, who immediately calls her mom. "The two of us are flying home right away. I'm booking the flights now. This is unbelievable." She hangs up the phone. The mom pops a bottle of wine, pours 2 glasses, and turns to her husband, "Honey, the kids are coming home for Christmas. And they are paying for their own plane tickets." Admit her to the ward. I asked the director of a psychiatric ward how they know for sure if someone is mentally unstable and needs to be committed. He explained their method. They go to a bathroom and fill a bathtub to the top. Then they give the patient a big bucket and a small spoon, and ask them to empty the tub. I replied, "So the normal person chooses the big bucket because it is larger, right?" The director disagreed. "No, a normal person would simply pull the drain stopper." He further added, "By the way, is a room with a garden view is okay for you to get admitted?" Guess why the man was drinking fast? A man arrives at the bar, seemingly very upset after a terrible day. He orders an expensive liquor shot and downs it right away. "One more." The bartender serves him again, and again the man downs the shot right away. "One more." After 5 shots, the man reveals, "If you had what I had, you'd be drinking this fast too." Worried, the bartender asks what the man has. The man responds, "I'm broke, I only have $2." Final cockpit exchange. The cockpit voice recorder captured one pilot asking, "Why did you cut off fuel?" The other replied, "I did not do it." It remains unclear which pilot made which statement. Second disclosure in the report points out to the captured conversation between the pilots. As none of them pulled the cutoff switch, question of manual error or pilot error is ruled out. Aviation experts argue that it is difficult to pinpoint exactly how the fuel switches were turned off. The distinct possibility is software error, electrical and hydraulic failure. Majority of engine parts are badly burnt, so even after reconstruction of 3D model, it will require humongous effort to find out the root cause. One thing is clear, as RAT was deployed immediately, that means both engines lost power within 1 to 2 seconds after takeoff. However, the power of RAT was not enough to save the aircraft from crashing. Also, landing gears were still extended, which created motor drag, reducing the engine thrust further. I am still 1 hole behind. A man was playing on a new golf course and lost track of what hole he was on. He asked a lady playing ahead of him. She responded, "I'm on the 7th hole and you're 1 hole behind me, so you must be on the 6th. Later, the same thing happened, and he asked the lady again. She responded, "I'm on the 14th and you're a hole behind me, so you must be on the 13th. After finishing the course, he saw the lady sitting at the clubhouse. They end up chatting and discussing work. She said she was in sales and he asked what she sold. "I'm scared you'll laugh," she hesitated, but the man promised he would not laugh. "I sell tampons," she said. The man burst into laughter. "See," she yelled. He replied, "No, it's not that. I'm a toilet paper salesman, so I'm still 1 hole behind you." Older and smarter. An old couple in their 70s visited a sex therapist. The man asked if she could watch them have intercourse, and she agreed. Afterward, the therapist said everything was normal and the couple was actually doing great considering their age. The couple seems happy and leaves after the man pays his $80 copay. Surprisingly, the couple returned every Wednesday for 6 weeks, repeating the routine. Puzzled, the therapist eventually asked why. The old man explained, "Well, you see, we can't do it at my place because my wife is there, and we can't do it at her place because her husband is there. And even the cheapest hotels charge $130 a night. But my copay here is only $80. As the father, so is the son. A boy tells his father that his gym teacher wants to meet with him. "What did you do?" the dad asks. "He said I was aiming for kids' heads during dodgeball," the boy explains. "Well, did you win?" "Yes, I did, that's my boy." "I'll talk to your gym teacher soon," the dad decides. The next day, the boy says his band teacher wants to see him. "Why's that?" he says. "She said to play louder, so I played as loud as I could." The father laughs, "Well, you did what she asked. I'll drop by soon to talk to him." 2 days later, the father says he is going to school to meet the teachers. The boy admits, "Well, you don't have to go now, I got expelled today." Confused, the father asks why. "I got called to the principal's office, and there was my gym teacher, band teacher, and art teacher there." "What the fuck was the art teacher doing there?" questions the father. "That's exactly what I said." A taxi driver and a nun. A taxi driver picks up a nun and hesitantly asks her a question, fearing it might offend her. The nun reassures him, saying she's heard it all. He confesses, "Well, I have always had a fantasy of receiving oral from a nun." The nun, a bit surprised but calm, responds, "That is fine, my son. I can help, but only if you are not married." The driver responds quickly, "That's not a problem, I am not married." They stop, and she fulfills his fantasy. However, when they start driving again, the driver admits, "I'm sorry, but I have lied to you, I'm married." The nun replied, "That's fine, my son. I haven't been very honest with you either, my name is actually Freddie, and I'm going to a Halloween party." Why it's a good idea to have a drunk husband. In bed with her lover, the wife heard her husband's key in the door. "Stay quiet," she whispered. "He's going to be too drunk to even notice you're here." The husband stumbled into bed, but soon realized there were 6 feet sticking out from under the blanket. Confused, he slurred, "Weigh it, there should only be 4 feet there, not 6. What's going on?" Chuckling, the wife responded, "You're wasted, babe. Step out of bed and count the feet again." The husband, after getting up and glancing back at the bed, replied, "Damn, there are 4 feet, I guess you're right." You will be disappointed, my dear student. Mrs. Tyler, a science teacher in a 5th grade class, posed the following question to her students: which part of the human body expands 8 times its size when stimulated? No one said anything until little Sarah jumped up and blurted out, "You're not supposed to ask us that kind of stuff. I'm gonna tell my parents, and they're gonna go straight to the principal." Unfazed by Sarah's protest, Mrs. Tyler repeated the question, which body part expands 8 times its size when stimulated? Little Sarah's jaw dropped, and she whispered to the kids nearby, "Oh wow, she's going to be in soon much trouble." Disregarding Sarah's comments once again, Mrs. Tyler addressed the class once more, hoping for a response. Finally, Cooper raises his hands and says, "I think the body part that grows 8 times when stimulated is the pupil in your eyes." Mrs. Tyler commended Cooper for his correct answer, then turned her attention to Sarah and said, "I have 3 things to say to you, Missy. 1. You clearly didn't read your homework. 2. You need to get your mind out of the gutter. And 3. One day you'll be incredibly disappointed." Mirror and the lipstick marks. School principal Judy May faced a challenge. Girls were constantly leaving lipstick marks on the bathroom mirror. Concerned, she devised a plan. Gathering the lipstick-wearing girls, she arranged a meeting in the ladies' room. When the girls arrived, they found the principal and the janitor waiting. The principal explained the problem, emphasizing the difficulty challenge this created for the janitor. To illustrate, the janitor dipped a brush in a nearby toilet to get it wet, and slowly scrubbed the lipstick marks with the wet brush. From that day on, the girls stopped pressing their lips on the mirror. Laxative and cough syrup. A doctor accidentally prescribes his patient a laxative instead of cough syrup. 3 days later the patient comes for a checkup and the doctor asks, "Well? Are you still coughing?" The patient replies, "No, I'm afraid to." Good and bad news. Doctor, I have some bad news and some very bad news. Patient, well, might as well give me the bad news first. Doctor, the lab called with your test results. They said you have 24 hours to live. Patient, 24 hours. That's terrible. What could be worse? What's the very bad news? Doctor, I've been trying to reach you since yesterday. Einstein has to speak at an important science conference. One day, Einstein has to speak at an important science conference. On the way there, he tells his driver that looks a bit like him, "I'm sick of all these conferences. I always say the same things over and over." The driver agrees, "You're right. As your driver, I attended all of them, and even though I don't know anything about science, I could give the conference in your place." "That's a great idea," says Einstein. "Let's switch places then." So they switch clothes, and as soon as they arrive, the driver dressed as Einstein goes on stage and starts giving the usual speech, while the real Einstein, dressed as the car driver, attends it. But in the crowd, there is one scientist who wants to impress everyone and thinks of a very difficult question to ask Einstein, hoping he won't be able to respond. So this guy stands up and interrupts the conference by posing his very difficult question. The whole room goes silent, holding their breath, waiting for the response. The driver looks at him, dead in the eye, and says, "Sir, your question is so easy to answer that I'm going to let my driver reply to it for me." Laugh it loud in 9.99 seconds. Laughter is the best medicine. Laugh freely and loudly and de-stress yourself. We will be bringing you situational humor, professional humor, farcical humor, and sometimes plain jokes. Idea is to make someone cheerful and happy daily. We are not affiliated with any political party or religious groups and we assure you pure humor daily. As we do not have commercial interests, no monetization of this channel, we will like to have maximum subscriber likes and comments. We are planning to make a difference to minimum 25,000 lives daily through humor.